Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael Daly back at you guys and girls with another episode of the Real 1% podcast where we talk about military to civilian transition. As always, we got another special guest on the line, and my man Dylan is from New York. He has over 25 years of service in the Army. You know, them Army boys getting it right with 2 overseas deployment. He joined as an E1, and he was an optical specialist. I had to look this up when I was reading his bio because I didn't even know that was an MOS. I think it said it was a 68 hotel. I don't know if that was the same lingo as when you were in, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Where he fabricated eyewears for soldiers. He held 2 of the most challenging roles, which was a drill sergeant, as we all know, and also a recruiter during 9/11. So I'm sure he has some interesting takes on that. Also being from New York, so can't wait to hear that from you. He rose all the way to senior enlisted rank of E8 Master Sergeant, and he also took on the charge of warrant officer. So he was selected for that. So he was doing excellent things back in 2006. He is the recipient of many leadership awards, which include the General MacArthur Award, Reserve Officer Outstanding Warrant Officer of the Year Award. Congratulations. Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, Volunteer of the Year, and Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. So, I mean, my man is a servant leader, at best, and always put on the role of leadership and still wearing it to this day with what he's doing. He's an active member of the military community, still giving back to service members to this day. You see that custom suit on? No, it's not Photoshop. Half ACU, half tailored suit, So I've never seen nothing like it. And, he's a proud husband. He's got 4 lovely girls. He's got a grandson, Jalen, and a granddaughter, Naomi. Dylan is also a military to civilian expert. He's bilingual, not in English and Russian, no, in corporate and military world, okay? So he speaks both languages. So if you want to climb the corporate ladder, he's your man. If you want to talk about military transition, he's also the guy to go to. So, that's pretty much a mouthful. And before I keep rambling off, I just want to say, Dylan, how you doing this morning? And thanks for being here, brother. Dylan, sorry, man. Sorry.
No worries. I'm doing fantastic. I like the opportunity just to have conversation as it pertains to me. I believe the best people that in the world is those that have served our families and served the country. So I'm doing good. Ready for some PT.
Ready for PT. Let's get it, man. What we doing today? 5 mile run, or what we got?
Well, they don't change it now. They got the kettlebells, and they got like 3 extra exercises that they added. I'm like, yeah, y'all go ahead. Let me
Nah,
get
man,
my cup of coffee. Well, that's the tradition, or they that's what they think. They said warrant officers walk around with the cups.
I never heard that one before, man. Warrant officers are the ones that you don't ever you see them, but they're the experts, man. So they do their own thing and take charge. So, what? Got to start off here first, though. What really made you join the military?
Quite honestly, when I'm born and raised in New York, lived in Brooklyn. Well, Brooklyn is my hometown. Lived in Harlem, lived in the Bronx, lived in Westchester County. But I was a civil servant with New York City Transit Authority. So I was making it was a good job, good benefits, probably one of the better jobs in the city. And I had a couple of colleagues talk to me about, hey, you should consider, doing the reserve. You can double dip, and my father served both in the Air Force and the Army. Um, and I said, well, it just makes sense to me. So I went in, I took the test. The recruiter was on me, and then I took the exam, the physical exam, and they told me what opportunities that excited me. I mean, all that I was qualified for. But what really hit me was they was talking about paying for my student loans. I was like, paying for my student loans? I'm in. Where do I sign? And so initially, that was the reason, the benefits for education. And what I found out after I got in, I was able to matriculate, do some great things, and have a good time, and advance and being able to give back.
So, that was the bait right there, right? The bait and the hook get you in for the student loans or the benefits. Did you think you were going to do 25 plus years?
Absolutely. I mean, not absolutely. In fact, I was I was thinking, how do I get out as fast as I got in? Once I hit the door, But then when I made it through basic training, I was 244 pounds, almost a size 40 waist. So when I got into basic training, they was issuing my uniform. The guy looked me up and down. He said, "Big, hey, big boy, I want to see you when you get up out of here." And so I got in shape. I lost 35 pounds, lost 6 inches on my waist. I said, "Wow, this is not bad." And then I went to my first leadership school, PLDC is what they called it back then, and it was amazing because I was the one that took the uniform right out the duffel bag and put it on. So I was wrinkled, until I went to PLDC, and that kind of woke me up because the unit never really prepared me for the leadership school. And as I got into training, every day it was like 10 present and counted for. Next day, 8 present and counted for. 6. I was like, oh man, this thing is serious. And it was that from that graduation, making that class, that I decided if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna find me some people that I can emulate, so I can advance as far as I can go.
So what that looked like after you got done with PLDC, also known as WLC. I think when I went to WLC, but who knows, might have changed it again by now. But was it hard for you to find those people to get under and kind of mentor you and take you to the next level, or was it kind of easy for you?
It wasn't. It was pretty simple. I mean, because one of the things I played sports, so I was always into sports, football, basketball. Primarily, football was my thing. So I understood the team sport, and I understood if you wanted to be good, find people that you emulate. And then when I came back, I realized I looked at people that was like me with the wrinkled uniforms. I was like, that's probably not the person I want to be around. And then I found one or two and got some mentorship there, and then found 2 or 3, then got some more mentorship as well, and then matriculated. It's so funny because during basic training, people running around crazy. Big old me walked up to the drill sergeant, and I was, looking at his hat. I said, "Man, we didn't get a hat like that. Where do we get a hat like that?" And I'll never forget this guy from Florida, gold tooth, and he had his hands on his hip, uh, and he called himself Black Jesus. He said, "You better get away from me, Heavy D." That was my name going through basic, Heavy D. He said, "You better get your big butt away from me." Then he asked me, "Where you from?" Oh man, I shouldn't have said that. From New York. He jumped back. He said, "You better not touch my wallet." But the answer to the question, the answer to the question is, I was able to find, because ultimate responsibility, the military is no different than civilian sector in some aspects. They have opportunity. You just got to find it. And I think if you want leadership and mentorship, you should seek it up. You should own that, because I mentor people now, and I tell them, hey, look, I'll provide my time, but you have to own the process.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right about that. And going back to the basic training, I wanted to ask you something because I was kind of similar to you. I was probably like 250, and I graduated big training and got a family day, and my family came up there. We went to go to Charlie's, the Philly cheesesteak spot in the PX. Dude, I couldn't even eat half the sandwich. My
Wow.
stomach shrunk so much. I mean, I dropped weight just like you, man. We were probably falling out of our uniforms when it was time to graduate. I wanted to ask if you had a similar experience. Did you like lose so much weight that you lost your appetite and everything like that? Didn't really get to eat as much when you got the chance to? Because I know for me it was kind of a shock.
No, no. Actually, I had motivated, inspirational people helping me eat. I mean, as soon as I go in the chow line, it was a drill sergeant to pick me up. Oh, you better get some vegetables. Oh, none of that. I'm gonna smoke your big butt. And then as soon as I sit down, here come another drill sergeant. Hey, goddamn it, Prime! You think this is a 5-star restaurant? You better eat it now and chew it later. What they did make me do. So I really didn't lose an appetite. I just had the right things. And like I said, I was in sports, so it just took me a couple of weeks to get back into the running. But what they did make me do is every break, I had to drink 2 canteens of water, and then I had to turn them up to show the drill sergeants that they were empty, because it was during the summer, so it was hot. So they made sure, and then as soon as I came out the chow hall, all right, mountain climbers. So I'm
Mhm.
doing mountain climbing. Um, so it was good. And as a matter of fact, I was a company guy the platoon guide on the company guide on. So I used to run in the front. I said, I'm gonna mess with the drill son. I twirl the damn guide on. They said, God damn, probably you don't have to twirl it the whole damn, run. But it was just, it was just meant to me. It was just another one a day practice or 2 day practice to, after,
Yeah,
because I realized they're yelling at you, screaming at you until I became a drill instructor. That the ultimate goal is to help the service members. You want them to be successful. You're not
absolutely.
gonna grab. You're not gonna grab them by the hand and say, "Oh, come on," and this. And you're gonna push them, and they want you to push them.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about drill sergeant, let's stay on that topic real quick. How did you end up getting put on those orders? Did you just come down Department of the Army, or did you volunteer for that?
Yeah, actually volunteered for that. I was like, I knew from day one in basic training that was something I wanted to do, and it was awesome experience. I mean, to have one of the most challenging jobs in the military. You had to find the service members and then train them. So that was it. Kept me, on my game because I was afraid of heights. But I would go up
Same.
out in Fort Leonard Wood on the tower shaking, private shaking like a leaf. I'm shaking like a damn leaf, but I'm not letting them know that. I'm counseling them up there how to get down, and so I enjoyed that challenge. That was a challenge to me to be able to, um, be successful, be at the top of one of the top position in the military, and then I thought it would set me apart from as I uh, put my records next to somebody that was close to or competitive in what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and you're right about that. I mean, in the military, no matter if you're scared of heights, you're gonna face it as soon as you get the basic training, man. There's no hiding that. You got to do the confidence climb, the rappel tower, the ropes. I mean, I don't like that either, man. But you got to face your fears when it comes down to that. So, just makes you stronger at the end of the day. But what
As a
happened?
matter as a matter of fact, when I did the tower in Fort Jackson, I get up on the top of the tower. Black Jesus, like, oh god damn, look at Heavy D. He said, I'm not here to catch your big butt. I want my rope back. What? I said, oh. And then they had me coming down the wall. They had me stop halfway and kick off the wall and say ribbit like a frog.
Oh wow.
They had a
Yeah.
field day with me.
Yeah, looking back at a good time, but when you're going through it, you're like, man, one of my good friends, he was so damn shook up there at the repel tower. He almost busted his chin over at same place, Fort Jackson, man. So you gotta love it, dude. Looking back on it, even when you went to drill sergeant school, you pretty much got to go to do basic training again because you got to learn all those modules. You got to learn all that, all those orders. You got to give instructions. So I wanted to ask you, going through that school, what was the hardest part for you?
And the hardest part was just um, remembering the modules. I mean, I would get me, especially with inspection arms, I would get me you hear me pitching the module with a broom in my hand. Good morning, my name is Drill Sergeant Raymond. The next movement I have a name explain, have demonstrated which you conduct practical work on this. But I mean, I still remember that. So
Oh
if it
yeah.
was drilled in me, on count one already one, my demonstrate would, but it was so repetitious, that even today I remember the module because you had to give classes to trees, you know, to your fellow classmates. But I knew it was all a mental game. And on the first and the 15th, I was getting a paycheck. So
Yeah. What?
with
What? Go ahead.
with private personal instructors, so I thought
Oh,
that was cool.
absolutely, man. Did you do drill sergeant first or recruiter?
I drill sergeant, then I did recruiting.
Okay. So what ended up happening during nine? Were you a drill sergeant or a recruiter during 9/11?
I was a recruiter during 9/11. And 4.5 years I did that. Loved it. Um, I mean, I should have got a combat patch from operating in New York City, but it was good times.
For real, man.
Good.
How was that? What was going on through your mind when 9/11 was happening and you were recruited? Oh, you got a like choice of duty station or whatever for that and went back to home, or how'd that go?
Yeah, so that was an opportunity that at the time I was active reserve, so I was a reserve recruiter, but we worked in the active duty Well, we all work together. So I figure, hey, if I'm gonna work in my backyard. And so when I came on recruiting, they was like, hey, where do you want to go? So I said, well, who's the top guy in the battalion? That's who I want to. That's where I want to go. you know.
Yeah,
Um, and so that's what I did. I worked with him a little, maybe 2 weeks, and I said, man, I can do this. And it was one of the best trainings that I've ever experienced, and I'm applying today. The Army got it right when it. I mean, because it's a sales job, no matter what it looks.
absolutely,
What do you
absolutely.
look? But you're selling a product that people are not paying for. You're asking people to invest 2, 4, 5, 7 years of their life. I mean, it's incredible. And just this week, I spoke to three soldiers that I recruited in the past, and they're all doing well. And this is over 20 years ago. So I would say I did a good job. You know. And then,
Absolutely.
it was serene, being in New York. I can vividly remember I was up in the operations and the recruiting battalion, and I had a service members that wanted to get discharged, get out. So he had me running around, put a lot of work in and time, energy, gas. So brought him to operations to get discharged. He got discharged, and I was dropping him off to the subway. He thought I was going to drop him all the way up to the Bronx, but I told him we got to the subway. He said, "Hey, what you doing?" He put his seatbelt on. I said, "Hey, guy, man, congratulations. I wish you the best of luck, but you're no longer qualified to ride in this government vehicle." He gave me that look. I didn't. It gave him a token and said, "Hey, have a safe trip." But it was that day was when the planes hit the towers, and I heard him saying in operation, "Hey, the plane just ran into the tower." I said, "Get out of here." It's no way. I've hung out in that area many a times, and then they said it's another one that hit, and I just knew that was it was bad. And the biggest thing, and I never forget the sergeant major of the battalion. He was one that he was a drill as well, but he was one that I totally got a different level of respect for him because he had the hardest job because it was recruiters like, hey, I'm not going back in the recruiting station. And got us all in the gym. He said, look, sergeants, he said, we have to go back into the recruiting station. If we don't go back in the recruiting station, what do you think the confidence of the American people going to be? And he motivated us to get back in and do what we were hired to do. And that was the recruiting trip.
What was going through your head when you started hearing about those planes hit? What did you start thinking about?
Well, I just couldn't believe it. I had to see it to believe it. And the battalion was, you can actually see it from the battalion or where I lived at. It was probably 5, 10 miles, but I knew it probably was the start of a conflict, with that. And then as a recruiter and we had government vehicles, I literally went by the crash site pretty much every day because they wasn't letting major traffic through. We were able, because we had a government place, to be able to go through that area on my way to my office. So that really hit home, having to see that every day and still in disbelief that the tower was taken down.
Yeah, it was a crazy day, man. I was in seventh grade. I still never forget that. Did you guys get right back to it the next day? Pretty much.
Oh,
You got the sergeant
that
major, you got right back in there the next day.
that day. I mean, but one thing about recruiting and drill sergeant, in those roles, you got the finest NCOs out there in the business. Because um, you're selected. And you got to make sure that you fit the bill for that, and it's challenging. But just to see these NCOs come together and get back to business, something that's difficult. Some of them wanted to go back to the line, because it's various backgrounds and MOSs and things of that nature. So they ready to get back to the fight. But the fight for us at that time was finding individuals to join the military.
Do you think it got easier to find people after that conflict happened, or was it harder?
It was incredible. It was easier. I mean, what was the harder part was sorting through the individuals to find out they're qualified, because we had
Right.
individuals that came in. There's no paperwork to validate citizenship or residency. Um, they had law violations. They, drugs. Did no education. So they would come in and say, "Hey, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go." But we didn't lower the standards because of that situation. I mean, we held the line. We maintained the standards. But
Right.
we had a lot of people come out of woodwork wanting to join the military.
Okay. Fair enough. So you did drill, then recruiter, and then what started getting prompting your mind to say, hey, I want to put my packet in for warrant? What was going through your head during that time frame?
Well, I was actually deployed. I was deployed in Iraq during that time, and I actually really didn't pay attention because they purple unicorns. You don't really see them. And had one warrant officer that was in theater that had an opportunity to pick his brain, talk to him about. I said, man, I'm gonna look into this. And it was an Australian warrant officer we worked with as well. I said, man, you guys are like, Houdinis, purple
Yeah.
unicorn. So I looked into it and I said, I think I'm gonna go ahead. And I kicked myself for waiting so long. I said, man, I didn't know warrant officer slice bread like this. Um, officers really don't know what you do. Um, and enlisted love you, so you have really the best of both worlds. And I love bringing people together, making things happen. It's so funny when I was a W-1, same thing I said as a master sergeant. They'd be like, yeah, master sergeant. But when I made W-1, they was like, I need to get with Chief, man. Something he's saying just sound magical. I'm saying the same thing I said last week, but for whatever reason, it sounded better.
So how many years did you have in when you were a math sergeant? Did you have like close to 15 years already, or were you a little bit lower than
Uh,
that?
about no, it was probably 16 years.
Okay.
Yep, I was up there.
That's
And my
that's
goal, aspiration, I was saying I'm definitely gonna do CW5, but the Army just started changing. I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and get out ranks and let a youngster step up and take the reign.
okay. When did you end up getting what? Well, I guess the first question really we when did you end up getting out of the military, and then the follow on question to that is when did you start planning to get out? When did you start devising that plan if you did have one?
So I got out in 2017 is when I hung everything up.
Okay.
And then planning had no clue of planning. I was out previously and kind of went back in, so it was a little bit combination of active and reserve. Um, but when I got out, I was a master sergeant, and I literally, they were talking about you need a resume. I'm like, what the hell is a resume? You need to tell me about yourself. Anytime they asked me that question, it was like somebody stuck a tablespoon of peanut butter in my mouth trying to explain that because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I mean, I found myself unemployed a few months, family looking at me like, hey, what's going on? We haven't eaten since Thursday. What you going to do? So it was just a wake up call. And I began to write down my standard operating procedures of what I wasn't going to allow to happen again. Find myself in that situation, and then that's when I just started writing down. And as I started getting deeper into the military space of transitioning military, I realized there was a lot of other people struggling just like me, and
Absolutely.
as a result, that let turned into the book. I was talking to you about rucksack to briefcase, so and that has been um, it's been interesting, to be able to help other people. Here's the cover. I'm gonna show you. I don't know if I
Yeah.
bring it up.
Nah, yeah, you can see it right there. I see it. Move it a little
Oh,
bit over to the other side because your name is right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yep. There you go.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it right there. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. When it's uncharted waters for most people that could get out if you don't have the right people. It's kind of crazy because when we're in, you talked about it earlier. We're looking for all these people to get under to emulate and follow their examples, take their good, put it in our toolkit, and move on. But at the end of the day, no matter if you do 25 years or 5, we all have to get out of the military. And it's like you want to be around the right people but they're usually not there because most people are going to the formation the next day or going to the range, and you're over here trying to clear post. And I'm sure that's what prompted you to write that book, and I want to get into that as well. You know, what does the book really touch on, if you don't mind? We don't have to do a whole spoiler, but what is it? Is it like a self-help guide, or is it kind of like that plus your story? I want you to touch on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, so it's on my story, but it's also giving you the tools necessary. Talking about what the purpose is of a resume. How do you um, network? What's the importance of networking? What does that mean? Networking. Identifying what you've done in the military. I don't care what it is. There are some things that I don't care if you was a cook, infantry, beans, bullets, whatever. There's something that you can take inventory of what you've done in the military and apply it to pretty much any job. But you can't say, well, hey, what do you want to do? I'll do anything. Well, anything is nothing. you know you know so you want to be specific. And unfortunately, as service members, we dedicate to the fight 100% of the time, that we forget about ourselves, until it's time to go. And then that lucky day you get that DD 214, you're marching off base. I mean, I can almost imagine it like leaving prison. Here's your bag with your last bit of things. Go ahead and make it happen. So those are some of the key things. So it's a combination of a guide that you can walk through. Also, it's designed to help service members. I mean, family members, because you got to think about family members. They have taken on the mantle of being here, holding down the fort. I'll be here 2 years, or go here 3 years, go here a year, and now you got a spotted resume, and you can't really get anything solid because most employers are going to think, well, man, are you going to be here in the next 3 years, next 2 years? So um, those are some of the things. Translating your skills, translating your skill set into what you want to do. Just like a 50-meter target. I look, if you're in range, you got to aim at what you want to aim at. I mean, what you want to hit. Then you do the fundamentals. Then you do everything backwards planning to meet that objective. If that
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Absolutely, man. Where can everyone find that book at? Amazon?
Well, yeah, you could Amazon. You go to my website, Dylan E Raymond. That's Dylane Raymond, RAYMOND.com. Just see some of the other stuff I do as well. And I've since transitioned from. I'm still helping service members in that area, but I'm now a realtor. So I had to transition into real estate over the last 3 years because of the pandemic and that reduced. I was working for a major petrochemical, international petrochemical company, hiring veterans into that company, and I built the program over the last 7 years or so. Solid program, but you just never know when you're gonna get cut. So you got to always be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that took you by shock, though, right? You probably weren't thinking that was going to happen.
Not at all. I mean, in fact, I thought, I said, hey, that's the priority. We've been building this thing. But hey, I don't know what the powers to be were thinking, and actually, it's probably one of the best things that happened, because I probably would have dibbled and dabbled back in something else. Not saying that the job is not good, but at times you got to know, where you will be more valuable, So I was able to get a
Absolutely. Excuse me.
separation and able to build my business just based on what I've learned in the military, networking, um, interviewing, sharing with people what I bring to the fight, how I differentiate myself, all those things I've learned. It's just a different industry. And guess what? You can drop me, and I would say most service members, high 90%, you can blindfold them, drop them in the middle of anywhere, and they're going to get up. They're going to make a talk. They're going to make communications. They're going to find out who the mayors are. They're going to make things happen, because if not, you're just going to sit on the side and let life consume you.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I want to go rewind a little bit because I know you were in the military for a long time. I was in 8 years, early 2000s, 2015. And obviously you're a smart, intelligent guy, and you got a lot of things going for you. But I really like to touch on this subject and ask these questions about sick call, disability, and things of that nature, because it just, the facade, I guess you were weak if you went to sick call. Oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, but I would say that set you up for failure. Not to say go in there and lie and tell them all these fibs, but if you have something wrong, you need to get it documented while you're in service, because you're doing yourself a disservice when it's time for you to get out and be compensated for disability and get those benefits for not only you, but also for your family. So I wanted to ask you for your take on that and what that looked like for you. Even getting out of the military, were you had your VA disability lined up? Was it something that you knew about, or, was it not touched on?
Yeah, so what I did realize, I definitely support it, service members. Is very important to document anything that any issues that you may have. I had just gone back to when I went through basic. I had pseudofolliculitis barbae, which is razor shaving profile.
Okay.
But documenting that in my files, I didn't think had no idea about VA process and everything. But there was some things along the way that I documented that helped, not with the intent of, especially being a drill sergeant, especially being a recruiter, especially being a warrant officer, at those levels, you like you said, you don't want to feel like you're weak. But I tell you, there's strength in taking care of yourself, not waiting because you really can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. Um, and so I had a major actually. My wife was over in Abu Dhabi. I was coming off active duty. I wanted to go and just be with them, And he said, "Look, Chief, you need to get this taken care of. Anything that you need to get it taken care of before you get off active duty." And that's probably one of the best pieces of information and advice that helped me down the line. And then service members got to remember you're not the same person as you were when you came in. And it didn't hit me until the pandemic that I actually experienced severe PTSD during 9/11. But I'd said I was good. I said, I'm good. I ain't got, everything is great until I start seeing stuff happen in my relationship, my kids and my wife. And I couldn't pinpoint where did it actually start. And it really started because I'm in 9/11. Here I am, been trained to defend, to fight, to do what I need to do. But now I'm in an environment where I feel like I've been attacked and I don't have the equipment to protect myself, protect the American people. So it was tough, but that came out and really helped me to deal with. And I did the things necessary to deal with that. So I would say to any service members that may listen to this broadcast, that take care of yourself. If something hurts, get it documented because you're not the same person when you fell in formation than when you left.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable, because you're right, man. You got to swallow that pride or the ego or whatever it is, because you're not taking away from anyone. People like saying that, well, I'm going to take away from the next one. No, you're not.
Right.
Well, just be proactive on that too, because when you get out, you're going to have less time. You're going to be, oh, I'm at work. I'm at the petrochemical company 5 days a week. I can't get to the VA. You're always going to find a time to do what you want to do, and maybe going to VA is not what you want to do. So you might always have an excuse. I'm sure you know people like that. I know people like that, but don't lose hope in the VA just because someone else had a bad experience. Doesn't mean that's going to dictate what happens to you. So yeah, take care of yourself. Like you said earlier, if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of others? Good leaders got to lead from the front, lead by example. It's okay to get help. That's what everyone's there for. If they were there to just sit around and read books, they would be librarians, But these people are, you know what I mean? So they're there for us. What's one thing you missed most about the military when you first got out? Like, what was something that you missed?
I love doing cadence, man. Cadence is like, um, I find myself doing it today. Even when I'm cycling, I like to cycle. and I'm cycling with the team. I'm singing cadence, especially when we're going up a hill. So I miss that camaraderie running. I would always write my own cadences, so it was always fun to do that.
You sound like you my like long lost brother, man. I used to do the same thing, dude. You my older brother, man. That's what I would do, man. Love cadence like a freestyle, dude. And I still do. I remember me and two of my buddies. We went down to Key West for like last Labor Day, and it was like we were walking back to the Navy base because we stayed on base. That's another perk. If you guys don't know, you're 100% service connected. You guys can stay on all the MWR facilities for usually a small fee. But yeah, we were running back in the rain, man. Called a little cadence, so it brought back good memories. But I used to love that too, man. Even you probably did the same thing, WS or PLDC for you, or ANOC, BNOC, all those schools, man. No one wants to take charge. Everyone's timid
Right.
to take charge. Just get out there first, march people. It's easy, man, and it's fun. So that's cool, man. That brings back some good memories right there too. Let's talk about your other book that you did. Put Me in Coach Volume 1. We didn't touch on that one. What's that book about?
So that one's a collaboration of authors, and we got together, and each person just talked a little bit about their story or gave some type of insight that individuals can apply in life or to their current situation. So that one was kind of the springboard to well, actually, it came after Rucksack to Briefcase. Um, but yeah, that was a good one to be amongst several other writers.
Okay. What made you want to be a? What made you want to take the the dive into being an author? Was it just a gap that you saw transitioning from service to civilian, or was it something you've always been passionate about?
Not at all. I mean, it was one of those things I jumped into, especially the Rucksack to Briefcase, the first edition. I had a buddy of mine. He's written about 22, 24 books. He's over in Saipan, loving life. And I was telling him about the idea. He said, "Man, you ought to take that and share it with service members." And quite honestly, writing a book it could be challenging. Some of the things is one writing it, and I'm a person that need to see some sequence of orders. But he was like, "Hey, just write. Keep a book in the car. Keep a book by the your bed. Keep a book and just write." But when I'm trying to put it in some type of order, it seems like I'm duplicating, triplicating um, the information until finally I
Yeah.
got them in some order to write it down in order. Um, but the reality of it is, fear does kick in because at the end of the day, you can worry about is it perfect, and that's one thing he kept saying. Don't worry about being perfect. You can always do a new edition. Um, so that accountability is, oh wow, I got this physical book in my hand. Now I got to get it out to the world. So it wasn't one of the things that I actually even considered, thought of, until I realized that I had some valuable information to share. And I'm actually working on a project to spin off and write several other books. So I'm actually looking to write. Now it's something that I do have realized that I have some value that I can. So I understand the value that I can add to people in all aspects of the books that I'll be writing coming up.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you a question about how did you get into real estate? What was your thought process on that?
Well, real estate, it's so funny. I invested in a home back in '04, '05, property in New York. Um, and then when the company I was working with, they said, "Hey, we're going to be, cutting your position." I said, like, well, let me see what I like to do. I like investment. I like passive income. I like leveraging, depreciation, taxes, tax benefits, and stuff like that. So I like that. I enjoy I enjoy people. I enjoy, you know, engaging with. I guess maybe I had because I had good tenants so far. Um, and then I was looking at something to get into, and to me that made sense. And the company actually had a $2,000 education fund that you can go and take any certification, any training. So as we were preparing to make that transition or pivot from, during the pandemic, I said, well, let me go ahead and take these classes while I'm home. Took some classes, I got past the classes, took the license, passed the licensing. And I said, because I like people, I like real estate, and I knew it was something that I can also train and share with other people. In fact, I'm gonna be looking for other um, people from the military or serve or their family members to become in the real estate market. And I like the idea of being being your own business. Whether it's long hours or short hours in the military, is probably you compare the hours, it's probably a reduction in hours.
Oh yeah,
It's just I just saw it as a way to make unlimited potential, can help others. Now I'm a mentor, a realtor mentor as well, and I like the idea of it's you can do flipping houses, you can buy and hold, you can finance, so many things that you can do, and service members as they move around the country. There's something they should consider, because guess what? You can start a business, do 2 years here, and you can leave that business and go keep that business going, and you move here and do the same thing and continue to build that business wherever you
yeah.
go.
Generate it could be generational wealth. It could be yeah.
Sure.
I love real estate too, man. I got one rental house, but looking back on it, you wish you wouldn't know the things when you're younger. But it's never too late to start because we got the VA loan. We got no funding fee if you're 100%. You got
Sure.
no down payment. You got so much things that you got a lower interest rate. So I want to ask you, you like using? Did you use the VA loan before?
Oh yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm actually actively looking for another property to invest in. You know, uh, for either like veterans or Section 8 or something like that. So I'm looking for that opportunity. And a lot of people listening to you may be listening to this broadcast. Hey, the interest rate is high. Well, I mean, if it's going to be an investment, really, who cares? What the interest rate is,
True.
if all your expenses are covered by that person. That's because all right, it's 6-7%, but when my mom bought her house, it was double digits. So don't get
That's
caught up
true.
in it, because
Yeah.
you'll find a way to not do. But if you can do something, leverage where you're at, have somebody pay in and reduce and build up your equity, why not? It's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. People back in the day would pay 11, 12, 13%. When people buy cars and when people were buying cars in the military, they're getting 20, 19% interest rates right outside the gate. So don't say the interest rate's too high. Like you said, if the numbers make sense, you know how to crunch the numbers, and you know what you're doing to look for a good. There's always deals out there. There's always people in distress. There's always people looking to offload, whether it's a family's estate or whatever the case may be. So yeah, good for you, man. I'm like you. I'm trying to get something every year if I can. Get the if you get the cash out there, or you got the investment group, you don't have to do it yourself either. You can find it with hard money, and you know the deal, man. I'm preaching to the choir, talking to you, but for people out there, there's always a deal to be made. So um,
And, and let me jump in one. And there's also an opportunity, especially if you have like 401k, or you have TSP or anything like that. There's opportunities where you can actually be a lender. Where you
okay,
can loan money from your 401k or retirement, or and let that be the investment if you don't have cash coming out of your pocket. I mean, I did it with I had an E7 and came off active duty. We kind of connected, made friends. He bought a house. He needed some help with the um, rehab. He found myself and the sergeant major that had some investment cash, and we just loaned him from the what's called a self-directed IRA. I'm not a finance guru, but I was able to loan him money. I'm the bank. Now he pays me interest back on that money instead of it just sitting there.
not bad at all, really. As long as they make the payment, on the military, you get paid first and 15th, man. So the money's good, right? So
And
that's
then
good.
it's secured by the asset. So
There you
that's
go.
the good thing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. What markets do you like to invest in now? Where are you looking at recently?
still in the Houston market,
Okay.
where I'm at, but if my ears are open to hear. I like to do it because I like to be a little close by, at least for the next one or two homes, and evaluating a couple of other markets. And then again, maybe introducing in some agents or some veterans or family members that want to be agents or want to be in the industry, that I can help them in that area as well. I'm looking in. Well, it's not. They changed the name to Fort Cavazos, but it was Fort Hood, formerly Fort Hood. In fact, I'll be there this weekend doing the book signing. But that's an area around a military base that I'm considering as well. So
Okay. All right. What are some goals that you have for yourself in the near future? What else are you working on? I know you said you got some more books coming and you got the real estate, but what else are you working on?
just opportunities to I like some lending opportunities, maybe get into some creative financing opportunities. Um, building a team that'll be my legacy, to be able to build a team of agents. My daughter wants to be an agent, and you don't have to. It's not something you have to do all the time, but man, I'm gonna go buy a car, or I want to do this. I can go sell a house. I can put a couple of
Yeah.
leases in. So just looking at ways to add additional streams of income, if it makes sense.
No,
I like
absolutely, dude.
I like residual income. It's coming in whether you like it or not.
Dude, who doesn't? Who doesn't, man? If you haven't had a taste of it, I'm sure if you get one, you'd like it as well. So, what what would you what would a message be back to the soldiers? Maybe they're in, maybe they're out, maybe they haven't gone in yet. But if you had a little bit of time to talk to someone, or maybe even the old you, what would you tell them to give them some motivation for them to succeed in their career and also succeed after the military?
No, that's great. Great question. So I would tell those that have already left, all right, if you made some decisions and haven't worked out the way you wanted it to work out, nevertheless, don't worry about that. Just remember those facing movements that they taught you in the military. Always do. You can do a right flank, you can do a left flank, a rear march, bout face. You can always turn around and change direction. The second thing is, I would say, is to partner with, collaborate. Collaboration is, especially in the way the market. I'll speak from the real estate market, and in this market, you got people that's leaving the industry. I'm excited because then that's more opportunity for me. You got to look at it as an opportunity. Think about what you learned in the military, the courage that you learned in the military, where maybe a civilian may run away from the fight, and we're going to run to the fight, because again, that's where the opportunity is going to be. And don't be afraid to go out on the limb, because simply that's where the fruit is.
Yeah,
Leverage your time. If you're going in, you're leaving, you're still in, you're getting BAH, why invest it in a rental, or where you rent? Maybe a house may not be for you, but if you can invest it in something, and then by the time you leave, you don't necessarily have to sell that. You can again look at ways to make that turn into money for you, and just leverage everywhere you're at. So I would stay the course, network with other individuals, be a team player, because you can do a lot more with two or more than you can do with yourself. So
I
that
do
those are some of the
absolutely. Seriously, think about this. Like, I got a couple things to throw out there at you, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So you got a whole unit. You go to Iraq. Everyone making good money. Some people are savvy with investments. Some people are young privates and everything in between, right? But you all come back with maybe everyone's at least $20,000, just say cash. Come back with like 100 people. Do the math. That's looking like a lot of money right there. Why don't you just
things.
buy a park? Why don't you just buy an apartment complex? Why is there no veteran hedge funds? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't think I've never really heard of them. Why is there no veterans BlackRock? All these people that are buying all these houses and running the prices up. It's crazy because we put our life on the line, and you go over here and you trust your battle buddy to your left, to your right. It doesn't matter the skin color. It doesn't matter the origin. None of that stuff matters, dude. For the most part, 99% of the time, there's always an outlier, but you're right, dude. Like it's hard to do it yourself. I mean, it's easy to dream and think for some people. Maybe for me, I want to do this, want to do that, but I know I can't do it by myself. So it's validated that by saying, get a partnership, but you got to have the right people. But I'm just curious to hear your thoughts because you're finance savvy. You like investments. Don't you think that's kind of like you go over there and do it. Obviously, some people aren't going to be obligated to do something like that with their money. They got a family, but it's going to set the family up for success. So, what's your take on that? Just veteran hedge fund or veteran investment groups, or something like that.
Yeah, and like you said, it has to make sense. You definitely want to get the right partnership. And one of the things I think they should do, and when I was over in Kuwait in 11 to 13, I believe it was, they actually, one of the soldiers from, he was into investment, and outside of his time for the day, he was hosting finance seminars, where he would give some information on that. So I think that's something that would be worth educating, because you get a young person come in new 17, 18, making all this money, and don't know what to do, and don't understand the um, putting in a little bit over time consistently what can happen, by doing that, but being able to teach them to do that, because most people come straight. I came from inner city, in the hood, projects, public housing. So it was a learning curve, and that it took me finding and connecting with the right people, but also finding and connecting with the right people. That bridge is going to be trust. Can you
Right.
trust this person? So that may take a little bit of time to develop that trust, because if they get burnt, they're gonna blame it. It was this person's fault. It was that person's fault. And ultimately, we gotta learn how to take responsibility for our decisions. And if we don't like the decisions, we can always execute a pivot movement into something different. And I'm still learning. They got different creative financing subject twos and wholesaling and things of that nature. You just gotta have people that's hungry to learn that, and want to do that. But a lot of times it comes down to building that trust. In the military, we think I wore the two badges. You think you are invincible, but the reality of it is, if you can be humble, in me, if I'm a W-3 and I see a E4 is talking, but it's making sense, you got a PhD, you got education, I'm going to listen to that person. So you got to be open to receive that information as well.
No, absolutely, man. Everyone has value, and like you said, trust. I think trust is it too. I've talked to a lot of my friends and asked them like, why do people not do stuff, or even us? Never mind the people. We got to worry about what we can control. But I think it's finding the right team, being trustworthy, really also being the same. It's a deal breaker, but a lot of people get dispersed. They go back home. You might have went to New York. You might be in Houston. I might be in Florida. You can still make something happen, but with distance, it's sometimes hard as well. Like if we can't really say we're going to invest in Kansas City, and you live in Texas, I live in Florida. If you want to be close to the property, then you got to trust property management. So it's just a domino effect essentially. But no, man, I really appreciate you coming on here. And to be honest with everybody, I don't know how I made it so long with a Yankees fan, man. I didn't want to put that out there at the beginning of the podcast, but this dude's Yankees, Rangers, Giants. So you got to show them a little remorse on the Giants this year, man. I don't know what they got going on, but we'll leave that for another episode. But nah, man, all jokes aside, I just want to say, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing for the veteran community. Also, Dylan was highlighted in Stars and Stripes and on LinkedIn as a influencer and military advocate to follow. So if you guys haven't already followed him, look him up, follow him, go get his books, and reach out. I'm sure he answered the call to action with me. I'm sure I'm no different than anyone else. He's a servant leader at its best. So I just wanted to say thank you, and wanted to open it up for you if you had anything to close us out. And then I got one more question for you, and then we could call it a day.
Yep. So I would say, definitely connect with me. I'm on Instagram at Dylan Sell Homes. I'm on Facebook, Dylan Sell Homes. Uh, Dylan Sell Homes.com it'll bring you up to real estate stuff. But definitely connect with me, and LinkedIn, Dylan Raymond. Let me just tell a story about LinkedIn. I had a LinkedIn account when I first started. I had 137 connections. And I told my partner, hey, man, I got 137. He laughed at me so hard that tears came out of his eyes. So he was like, look, dude, get 500 and give me a call, then I know you're serious. And I took it personal and began to make connections. And I don't know, I know I'm at least 5 digits now with individuals following. But here's the purpose of doing that, because now I get people reaching out to me all the time to want to connect. So it's always good to have people that you can filter out, then struggling when you need help, and make your voice be heard on the platform. Whether you say something here or there, comment on something, make sure you find yourself in that social realm. But it's definitely something that you want to stay connected. I love the opportunity to connect with you, answer any questions, talk about real estate. But you'll see me coming out with some things to talk to some of the veterans or individuals that's still serving, and more importantly, that's service members. And also, this weekend I'll be at Fort Cavazo, Saturday the 21st, doing a book signing, and then I'll be at West Point next week doing the signing. So I'm still out in the community. I'm fluent in military and civilian speak. So, but one of the things I will tell you, you have value. You have the skills necessary to transition into whatever it is that you want. And one of the things I can do is help you uncover that. All I ask is, value my time. I'm going to value your time. If we connect, let's connect. Let's talk about it. And then I can point you in the right direction, and then you can execute.
Okay, thanks for sharing that with us. What was your favorite food that you missed from the military? Your favorite meal? You probably had a lot of them. What was a good meal you had? Anything?
Um, Probably at the Air Force Base when I was in Colorado. No, well,
Surprise that one.
I actually like the MREs.
Which
It was
one?
one that had it was a vegetarian one. So I've since my whole diet, lifestyle, eating habit is I don't eat any meat anymore. So I would consider myself a fruitarian. So I
Okay,
don't eat meat, dairy. I went from 244. I'm probably around 200 now, maintaining that weight. Because I cut out all the sugars, the salts, the flours, and just feel a lot better. But it's tough because the food is addicting. You know,
absolutely.
it's very addicting, and they make it taste good, and so you got to be conscious of what and all I get, I want to make sure I'm conscious of what I'm putting into my body. So I would say that vegetarian. I don't know if it was a number 7 or 11. It had a chocolate chip cookie in it, and for whatever reason, I like pouring water in to the dehydrated fruit and watch it expand. So, and then the
Yeah,
last thing I would do is take the little heater and put it in the bottle. Put the top on and watch it blow, a little
okay.
water, and watch it blow. So that some crazy stuff.
Making them pipe
Um,
bombs, man. Bring you back. Hey, man,
the
that's
pipe
some
on.
yeah, some little whatever. But yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate all the knowledge you dropped on us today, and I hope everyone learned something. I definitely did, and real estate's been something I've been passionate about, and I'm trying to get my license in Florida. I just got to sit for the exam, and maybe we could do some deals, man. You never know what's going to happen, but I'll be in touch with you, and I just want to say thanks again for coming on today.
Yeah, I love referral partners. So yeah, if you got any questions on that, and we certainly this won't be the last time that we talk. And do want to remind individuals, if you want to get a copy of my book, feel free to go to dialineraymond.com. And I love the opportunity. Connect with me on LinkedIn, all the social media platforms. Love to hear your voice.
Yes,
And
sir.
thanks
Hey,
again, Michael, for what you're doing and the community that you're building. And I'm hopefully I'm adding value. That's what my hope is. That is adding value to the community and the people that listen to it.
yes, sir. Absolutely, man. Like you said, everyone has value. We all have greatness inside of us. It's up to us to harvest it, get around the right people and just try to be the best version of yourself every day. That's not an easy task to wake up and do it over and over and over. It's easy to get complacent. It's easy to get comfortable. But guess what? If you stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow. Like Les Brown says, to be someone you've never been before, you got to do things you've never done before. So that's what I'm trying to do. I know what I did for 35 years. I left myself short. So hopefully, you guys don't follow in my footsteps with my first 35. because I'm on the new heights in the next 35, and hopefully you guys can be a part of it. If you're a veteran, you're in the military, you want to share your story, I'd be happy to hear it because, like Dylan said earlier, your voice matters and it needs to be heard. So without further ado, thank you guys and girls for your time today. I hope you guys have a blessed one. Take care. Till next
All right,
time.
thanks.
Thank you.